Hey girlies, welcome back to the Real Houseguest of North Hollywood. I'm your host, Carson Frae. We're just going to jump right into Bravo News. So the Summer House seating chart came out today. So obviously we all knew Carl and Lindsay would be in the first seat, like not surprised by that whatsoever. But I really do think the fact that Wes and Sierra, they're not across from each other or next to each other, they're like that makes me feel like they're not a couple. But just because historically, like, couples always get sat together. Like, I knew Kyle and Amanda would be sat next together. Tom and Katie in every single reunion until their divorce were sat next to each other. So yeah, I'm very excited for their reunion. I'm also so excited for the Martha's Vineyard reunion. I'm so glad they got one. Oh my God, I was at Schwartz and Sandy's this week. So on Tuesday, every Tuesday for the most part, they have like a Vanderpump watch party at Schwartz and Sandy's. And I'll admit, like, I go a lot. I like Schwartz and Sandy's. I actually really like it. The vibes were good. I got there like right before Vanderpump started. Go to the bar, and like Schwartz is just in there like giving people shots, hanging out. Like every time I've gone there, I see Schwartz, I think like 90% of the time, and it's always like very warm, nice. Every time I've seen Sandoval there, it's just been like him staring at people and like giving dirty looks to everyone. But he wasn't there last week, and it was really good vibes. So yeah, I loved it. I will always try and go to like all the Vanderpump restaurants and just get some like boots on the ground, get our bases covered. It was really interesting watching though. There's one girl in particular that at first I thought she worked there just of how she was following Schwartz around. And then I was like, oh my God, this girl's like a for real stalker. Like I was like, we saw little baby Schwartz, little people pleaser Schwartz get like, hey, boundaries. I want to be like, can you set those boundaries with Tom Sandoval? Because, like, I see you're capable of doing it, Schwartz. Maurizio is officially moving out of his house with Kyle Richards. He bought a condo. Apparently, this condo's in the same building as Matt Damon, which adds up. And Dorit and PK, there are rumors that he's moved out and he's living at the Beverly Hills Hotel. There's also rumors she won't be coming back or she's been downgraded to a friend. Either way, I'm like, just off the show, I'm not really that interested in Dorit. Like, she hasn't had a real storyline since Lisa Vanderpump was on the show. So I watched everything this week, and it was a really, really good Bravo week. It was honestly like really hard to decide what to review, but I think what's most like required viewing this week is Summer House in the Valley. So we're just going to jump into Summer House season 8, episode 11. I believe it was called Witchin' and Bitchin', but Apple did not like how I tried to spell it. So the episode pretty much opens with Paige and Craig on a very cute little picnic date, and Paige says she wants to show Craig that she like actually likes him. And I was like, oh my God, like I completely relate to her. Like I also need to be nicer to my sensitive boyfriend. And I need to tell him like, hey, I like you and I appreciate you. But then when Craig was like, yeah, sometimes I don't know if you like me or not, I was like, no, I am Craig. I'm definitely Craig. So then Craig tells Paige he would totally resent her if he doesn't have kids by the time he's 40, which I kind of get where Craig's coming from, because he's like, I'm investing pretty much like most of my mature adult life into this person, and I'm not sure she really actually wants to have kids and get married. And I think Paige does want to get married to him, but I do think Paige, she doesn't want to grow up too fast. Like, I think she said she didn't move out until she was like out of college, move out of her family's home. And I think she just likes to do things at her pace. And then we cut over to Carl and Lindsay's, and we can see once again Carl just curving, like actually telling Lindsay how he feels. And it's just very, very, very cringy. And even more cringy is Lindsay's bridal party. And nothing about the party, like, it looked gorgeous. Like, when I would imagine how I would want my bridal shower to be, it might look like how it looked because it was that beautiful. I love seeing all the girls there. Sam was there. I wish Sam was on this season. Like, I get why it doesn't really fit, but I kind of wish she was there. And we see all the girls at the bridal shower except for Paige. And then Carl's mom's there. And it's so awkward. It's just like, she's like just looking at Lindsay, and Lindsay's like, hi. Like, it's just weird and uncomfortable, and ugh. And Carl's mom feels, look, I'm not going to talk too much about Carl's mom because she's not a reality star, you know, her child is. But she feels similar to Carl, and like she's conflict avoidant and maybe people pleaser, and sometimes the nicest thing you can do is be honest. Yeah, I think I wrote cringe, 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 cringe multiple times during the bridal party because I just felt like it was so like I felt like I was watching like a really cringy episode of The Office almost. And then Paige, on the way down to the Hamptons, she admits she was invited to the bridal party, but she didn't go because she was not invited to the wedding. And yeah, I agree with that. Do not invite me to your bridal shower if you're not inviting me to your wedding. That is just like, that's like asking for a birthday present but not being invited to like the party. Like, it's just, no, like, that's not happening. And also, it's like, isn't the bridal shower supposed to be like the people closest to you? So if they're not even close enough to be invited to the wedding, it's only because she's on the show. And is then Lindsay just like trying to be the girl's girl storyline without like doing it in real life? I'm not trying to hate on Lindsay. I actually am way more on her side than Carl's side. But all questions have to be asked. And then everyone else arrives to the Hamptons, and it's an astrology party. They're all like outside talking, and basically Lindsay's like, are you talking to other girls? Are you hooking up with other girls? And Wes just kind of admits like, yeah, like I'm talking to other girls. We're not exclusive. And the way the other girls react later in the episode, not to skip ahead too much, but they aren't sleeping together. So why would they be exclusive? They're not, no one here is 13. Like, but then when Sierra gets there, man, you can tell she really likes Wes because she just beelines for him and just mounts him and kisses him. And yeah, and then it just kind of like, it makes me feel weird because at the beginning of the season, it really felt like Sierra liked Wes a lot more than Wes likes her, and now it feels like it's somewhat shifting. But then we get really good news. Wes gets his email, and he's so overjoyed he can't even tell them what's happening. So he gives it to Paige to read as he like takes all of his clothes off to jump in the pool, that he finally got a job at Complex Sports. And we all knew this because it's been in his Instagram bio like since he's been on the show, but it's still really exciting. Paige, though, has the best facial reaction. She's like upstairs doing her makeup, and they're talking about the whole West thing, and she's just like, if you're just listening, if you're not watching the video, it's just like Google just like Paige's reactions last episode. It's worth, if you're not watching the episode, it's worth it just to see the imagery. Lindsay tells the girls about like her conversation with Carl's mom at the bridal party and just kind of what she knew about it at that point. And then while they're all getting ready for dinner, Carl's like talking to Kyle, trying to talk about the thing going on with his parents. And then Amanda's like looking for stuff, and then she realizes like Kyle can't emotionally handle this, so she like sits down on the bed and kind of gets what really happened and what Carl's parents really said. And Carl finally is like very honest. Something about Amanda being there, I feel like neutralized it for him, where he could just be honest. And then the best part of the entire episode, they break the fourth wall. Like the way Amanda just says, okay, like you haven't told her, but what about, when she sees it? And it's like finally they're talking about the TV show. And then Carl goes, oh yeah, all this. And you see the cameraman, you see the producers, and then they start talking about how like it's not natural to have these conversations. Amanda talks about how like she had to tell her parents Kyle cheated on her because they were going to see it on the show. And they basically tell Carl, you need to tell Lindsay what really happened in that conversation so she doesn't find out a few months into your marriage. That's what they were doing. I just couldn't believe they broke the fourth wall in that way. I don't think that's happened on a Bravo show. Like, maybe on Vanderpump Rules a little last season at the end when they, like, came back after Scandal, but I can't think of other times where they break the fourth wall in that way, where they literally point out the cameras. It kind of felt like Truman Show, where they're like, he realizes, like, everything's on camera. And Amanda essentially has to plead with Carl and saying, you have to be honest with her. You are going to embarrass her on national television. And Carl's struggling because he like feels like because of their therapy, he understands her abandonment further. But by not telling her and like whatever the outcome, it's just going to further those issues. And like it's going to drive her trauma more into the ground, and it's going to be more of like she will believe that. But the way I'm so glad Amanda was there in that moment because I love Kyle, but I don't think Kyle has all the skills to emotionally navigate, and I think Amanda really does. That's why it's like, Kyle, Amanda makes you so much better. So they're at the dinner then. Finally, they go back. And it's weird. They're like talking about Jesse's like dating and stuff. And then he's like, yeah, I am looking for someone. I am looking for this. And then Sierra goes, oh, I would never introduce a girl into you. And, like, called him a trash bag. And then he was like, that's really mean. And they were like, well, you are, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, they were doing it in a playful way. But I was like, still, that's really mean to say about someone. Carl finally, like, sits down at the table. And he just goes up to Lindsay. He's like, we got to talk later. And I could feel, like, Lindsay's heartbeat from watching the camera. And she's like, well, let's just go now. Let's just go talk now. Because she wants to handle it. She wants everything to be fine. And this is, like, where I completely switched and became Carl's the villain. Carl is the complete villain of the season. And Daniel clocks immediately what's going on when they get up to leave. It's just, like, it really, really makes me sad seeing him sit there and just be so manipulative and just not, like, why can't Carl just be honest with her? Why is that so hard for him? Why is he so, and I don't think it's anything to do with Lindsay. I think it all has to do with Carl. It was a really good episode, though. I'm so excited for this reunion. Like, Summer House, y'all are killing it. So the next episode I want to talk about is The Valley, Season 1, Episode 7, the number one gossip of the group. So it just kind of opens up with the dinner party from hell, the kind of like falling out of it. The best moment is when Jack says in his confessional that he felt left out because like the drama had nothing to do with him. He wasn't involved in it. And he was like, I felt left out. Because I was like, you look like your 2-year-old kid right now. Like, I feel left out. Jesse and Michelle kind of come down to basically they will not be at any group event if Kristen is there. And they kind of draw like a very hard line in the sand, which they're not reality show people. I mean, they are now, but like just being normal people, not from Vanderpump Rules, after how Kristen treated them, any person would be like, yeah, I'm not going to be around her. No, thank you. But it's interesting watching kind of the divide on the Valley between the people who have been on Vanderpump versus not, and just kind of that interest of it. We then see Jesse and Michelle just like talk about what happened the next morning, and Jesse kind of is like, it's bringing us closer, and that is not something that should bring you closer. It can be like temporarily closeness because it's like protection, like don't talk about my partner, but that's not like when I feel closest to my partner. It's not when we like are having to defend each other. Like that's, yeah, weird. And then Jesse seems like he's more insecure from the Kristen rumors, and they say they were like, oh, our relationship was always very secure, but it doesn't seem like it to me. And what we've seen of any part of their relationship, he doesn't feel secure. And then we're at Janet. And Jason's house, and Janet is really the investigator. Jason is sweating when she's like explaining all the gossip to him, and he's like, and what does this have to do with you? You can see like sweat rolling down his face because he's like kind of scared to say. I think Jason is like maybe slightly scared of Janet, just a tiny bit. And then Janet in her confessional just like throwing shade at Jax for being a gossiper when that's literally her biggest personality trait so far in the show. Like, tell me something about Janet. She loves to gossip. She's pregnant. She's friends with Sheena. Like, her whole thing was like, I was the NPC on Vanderpump Rules, and now here I am. Okay, but who are you? Because all I really know is like that she likes to talk about other people. We don't really know Janet the same way like we're getting to know Nia in such a vulnerable way. Even Michelle, like love Michelle, hate Michelle, we're still getting to know who she is. I don't really know about Janet. And then Jason went confessional of the Valley when he basically was like, yeah, Janet quit her full-time job when she got pregnant and became a full-time gossiper. Yeah, I think that's how he said it. He said it better than that, like in a more smart way, because he's a lawyer, so he's all smart. Kristen and Luke then go to the fertility doctor. Yay, everything's normal. Honestly, like, I hate these scenes about them having a baby. Like, I don't think they should have a baby, so every time I really wanted them to go and be like, yeah, it's not going to work for you guys, because I'm like, these two should not have a baby together. They shouldn't. They've been married. They're not even married. They've been dating for like 2 months or something. Like, it's so crazy. And then we're at Jax and Brittany's, and we just see Jax like berate Brittany. Like, he goes, I'm so angry, and Brittany's mom goes, are you hungry? And he goes, no, I'm angry. It's like, you're like, who talks to their mother-in-law like that? And if that's the way he talks to his mother-in-law on camera, and that's the way he talks to Brittany on camera, imagine what he's like not on camera. Like, think about those years where they weren't on a show. You know, what was Jax like then? Then Jason and Janet come over to Brittany and Jax's to like check in, and Janet's basically there to call Jax out, and Jax is just like, no, Janet, no, you're not calling me out because you are the gossip queen. Jax kind of reveals the gossip he knows from Kristen, and he looks so fucked up, like when he's saying it. Like, his skin looks like a tomato, he looks dead in his eyes, and it's like he tries to then throw Brittany under the bus, and Brittany just goes, I didn't say nothing. Like, people hate on Brittany a lot, but like, she's a sweet Kentucky girl. Jax does self-produce, though, way too much. And then we see our favorite couple, Nia and Danny. They're so gorgeous. Like, I just really, really do love them as a couple. They take their little babies to the park, and they like, Danny checks in on her about like her baby blues and her postpartum. And I think something like, Nia is like so beautiful. She's like she's a pageant girl. She's, you know, a black belt, and she has, you know, 2 little girls, a little boy. And so I think on paper her life just looking at her, she looks perfect to me. And like, but seeing her talk about baby blues and postpartum and seeing how vulnerable, she's being actually vulnerable. Like, Jax and Brittany and Kristen think they're being vulnerable, but they're just overly self-producing. Like, to me, Nia is being actually vulnerable. And we see her reach out to her sister-in-law to talk. One, I love the sister-in-law. Her little Wisconsin or Minnesota accent where she's like, you just gotta reach out. I can't do it correctly, but so sweet and like so helpful. And I don't know. I just really find Nia to be very relatable. And then Brittany says, so I just really find her to be like relatable. Later, Jax and Brittany are going to a tantric sex therapist. Brittany talks about how like her body changed a lot after she had Cruz and how she doesn't feel like Jax is attracted to her anymore, which that was really like sad to watch. And I want to say, I don't think it's her. Like, I think his dick just doesn't work because he does so much cocaine. Like, have you seen your husband? Like, once. Like, he is the most, like, coked out individual I've ever met. But Brittany's, like, really investigating. She's like, if he's not cheating on me, why are we having so much intimacy issues? Which I would have the same thing. But then I would say, oh, my husband's on a bunch of coke. That's why we're having intimacy issues. Which, yeah. Later we see Jax, Jason, and Luke all go bowling. You can tell Jax is like, yeah, I'm going to confront Luke about Kristen's behavior. And he does it, and Luke's like, yeah, you're right. Like, for sure. And I love how Jason explains things. Like, I don't know his birth chart, but Jason, are you a Libra? Because you feel very well balanced. Like, and I really like having Jason on the show for that reason, because this is not a group of balanced people whatsoever. Luke tries to call Jax a liar, and he's basically being like, Jax, shut up. I watched Vanderpump Rules. That's how it feels. And I know Jax is a liar, but I don't think lying is much of his issue. Like, I think he's just an asshole. Every time, though, I look at Luke, I see Van Gogh. Like, that's all I see. Like, whoever said that on the internet, fuck you. Because that's all I see. Then Nia and Danny go on a double date with Michelle and Jesse. And wow, they are such different couples. And we see the contrast. Seeing how Nina and Danny cheers and kiss, and they're so in tune with it. And Michelle and Jesse are like, yeah, no, we don't do that. And they say they're meeting to talk real estate. And like Nia and Danny were talking about how they were like needing a bigger house. And Danny was like, well, maybe we could move to Santa Clarita. And Jesse and Michelle, who are both real estate agents, are like, blank in the face. No idea what Santa Clarita is. Because they're the kind of real estate agents where they're only trying to sell like bougie Beverly Hills homes. They're not trying to sell like cute little suburban family home. And Danny's like, well, it's only $1.2 million. I'm like, that's still a lot of money. That's still a crazy amount of money. And like they act like Santa Clarita is like in the middle of nowhere. That's where Six Flags is. It's like 20 minutes north of like where they live right now. It's not that far. Maybe 30 minutes, but it's not that crazy. Jesse tries to bring up what's going on with Kristen, and Nia just immediately starts bawling. And you can just see that she cannot take on like any of this Kristen stuff. Like they cannot be sitting there telling her. And it was actually a really beautiful moment. Like seeing Michelle hold her hand and like really support her friend, it was really, really beautiful because we don't know them as much, so it's like kind of a little insight into their friendship. And just I liked watching Danny as well notice Nia was emotional and then say he saw that Michelle had her and he knew that was an important connection for her. And then Jax and Brittany are going on an overnight date night. And Jason and Janet are watching Cruz to, I guess, like prepare them for their baby's arrival. Kristen and Luke sit down though on the couch for like a sit down, and you can tell when Luke's like, hey, I gotta talk to you, Kristen's brain is going crazy because she was like, is Luke dropping a I gotta talk to you reality TV bomb on me? Like, no, I am the reality TV queen. And he sits down and just tries to have a reasonable conversation with her. And I think during this conversation, Luke was like, I am dating Kristen from Vanderpump Rules. This is who I'm dating. Oh shit. Oh shit. I'm about to have a baby with this crazy lady. Save yourself, Luke. Or not, because he seems crazy too. Maybe they're perfect. And when Luke said, if we move forward, I was like, I'm not a Kristen fan, and that's still a fucked up thing to say. And Jax and Brittany, of course, are at the Mondrian. The lovely place that everyone from Vanderpump Rules loves, the Mondrian. Jax, they're sitting there talking, like, during their date, and he's stone-faced. He's, like, not even looking. He's looking past Brittany, and he keeps saying, if we have another kid, when he has been promising Brittany, yeah, next month we start trying. And then he essentially kind of, without saying it directly, basically says, I don't like how Cruz is turning out to Brittany, and I don't think you're a good mom. And I'm not having another kid with you. And it's kind of like he sees the raising of the children as a reflection of Brittany rather than a reflection of them as a couple. I really just hope they don't get back together. I really don't. I think Brittany, deserves, if she wants to have more babies, she should have more babies. And she should have more babies with someone who's an actual partner. Because, in what little we've seen of, how they parent, it seems to me Brittany does a lot of it. But yeah. Wow. It was a really great episode. Next week we'll be back with... We'll probably talk about the finale of Vanderpump Rules, I'm guessing. Maybe talk some Martha's Vineyard. Real Housewives of New Jersey is back this week, too. I'm going to watch. To be honest, I'm not a huge Jersey fan, so we'll see how much I get into it. But thank you so much for listening or watching. Please make sure you subscribe, follow, listen on YouTube and Spotify. And you can find us on Instagram and TikTok at The Real House Guest of NoHo. Bye!